on Read, Write, Roar. Let's learn about Michigan's rolling rivers, learn about Detroit's famous riverfront, and learn the rules for crafting complex sentences. Then learn how imagery in film works. Let's go! Read, Write, Roar.
This program is made possible in part by the state of Michigan and by viewers like you. Thank you.
The Detroit riverfront is a beautiful sight to visit. I'm Mrs. DeFall, and I was amazed to learn that each year more than 3 million visitors enjoy the Detroit riverfront. While we explored the Detroit riverfront, we are also going to learn about complex sentences. What makes a complex sentence? A complex sentence has two parts. One part is a complete sentence. A complete sentence has a subject, who or what, and a main verb, doing or action, to state a complete thought. The other part is a fragment. A fragment is usually missing a subject or verb and the thought is incomplete. First, let's recognize a fragment or an incomplete sentence. Relaxing, playing, biking, paddling, swimming, and so much more. Is this a fragment? Yes, it's a fragment. It doesn't make sense all by itself. Next, let's recognize a complete sentence. The waterfront offers so much for families and friends. Is this a complete sentence? You're right. It's a complete sentence. It makes sense all by itself. Remember, when we put a fragment with a complete sentence, we create a complex sentence. Let's try another one. Is this a fragment or a complete sentence? Over 3 million visitors enjoy this riverside retreat. That's right, it's a complete sentence all by itself. What about this one? Is this a fragment or a complete sentence? Which is a Detroit treasure? Yes, it's a fragment. It doesn't make sense. Something's missing. In complex sentences, we give the two parts, a complete sentence and a fragment, very special names. We call the complete sentence the independent clause. When you're independent, that means you do something all by yourself. A complete sentence holds meaning all by itself. Think of this as good to go. Since green lights tell vehicles to go, we've highlighted the independent clause in green. We call the fragment the dependent clause. When you're dependent, that means you need help. This fragment needs help to show a complete thought. Think of this as stop, help. Since red lights tell vehicles to stop, we've highlighted the dependent clause in red. Let's color code our first sentence. The waterfront offers so much for families and friends while relaxing, playing, biking, paddling, swimming, and so much more. Remember, in complex sentences, there are two parts. There's an independent clause, highlighted in green, it's good to go. There's a dependent clause, highlighted in red, stop. That fragment needs help. It needs to be transformed into a complex sentence. Just like the change to the Detroit riverfront has been a remarkable transformation, today we will focus on transforming our sentences from fragments to complex sentences. Transformation, that's a big word. Let's break it apart. Trans is a Latin prefix that means across or beyond. Remember, prefixes come at the beginning of a word. Form is a verb that means to develop. When we add the suffix ation at the end of the word, where suffixes hang out, we make a noun. So transformation is something that develops beyond what we might expect. The Detroit riverfront experienced a transformation because of helpers who are everyday people like you and me. In our two complex sentences, while and which are helpers. The special name for these helpers is a subordinating conjunction. Subordinating conjunctions help dependent clauses or fragments connect to independent clauses or complete sentences. Let's discover some more subordinating conjunctions in the complex sentences we'll explore together. The Detroit riverfront experienced an exceptional transformation like never before. What's the dependent clause? The part of the sentence that needs help to complete the thought. Never before. That's a dependent clause. It needs help to make a complete thought. What's the independent clause? The part of the sentence that shows a complete thought. The Detroit riverfront experienced an exceptional transformation. That's an independent clause. It makes sense all by itself. Let's rebuild the complex sentence. Remember, in complex sentences, there are two parts. There's an independent clause, highlighted in green, it's good to go. And a dependent clause is highlighted in red, stop, that fragment needs help. In this complex sentence, like is the helper. It's the subordinating conjunction. Let's try another sentence together. The East Riverfront includes parks, paths, and pavilions, all connected by the Riverwalk. What's the dependent clause? The part of the sentence that needs help to complete the thought. That's right, connected by the Riverwalk. Without an independent clause, that phrase is a fragment. It needs help to form a complete thought. What's the independent clause? The part of the sentence that shows a complete thought on its own. That's right. The East Riverfront includes parks, paths, and pavilions. That's a complete sentence. It makes sense. Let's rebuild the complex sentence. One part is the independent clause. A second part is the dependent clause. In this complex sentence, all is the helper. It's the subordinating conjunction. Let's use our 4 sentences to draft a paragraph about the Detroit riverfront. The Detroit riverfront experienced an exceptional transformation like never before. The East Riverfront includes parks, paths, and pavilions, all connected by the Riverwalk. The waterfront offers so much for families and friends while relaxing, playing, biking, paddling, swimming, and so much more. Over 3 million visitors enjoy this riverside retreat, which is a Detroit treasure. Consider the magic of transformation. Much like the Detroit riverfront has gone through a major transformation with some help, so can your sentence construction. When you're writing, rebuild those fragments into complex sentences.
Miss AP here to help restore your energy. Today we are going to be learning how to do some basic yoga poses. But before we do, let's start with our warm-up. Since we already learned how to do a squat in the last unit, let's do 3 squats to warm up. 1, 2, 3. Nice job. Now that we have warmed up our body, we are ready to exercise. Today, we are going to start on the floor to learn the cobra pose. We'll start by laying on our stomach, all the way down to the floor, palms at your side, and you're just going to gently raise your head up, holding that pose. Coming back down, make sure your toes are tucked. Relax your muscles. Take a deep breath in, push up. Coming up just like a cobra. Coming back down to the ground. Taking that deep breath in, making sure those toes are tucked, palms are down, pushing up gently. Deep breath in, release it. We'll push back up on all 4s, back into our child's pose. Pushing ourselves back up. In that ready position, give yourselves a big clap, clap. Nice job. Let's cool down by taking 2 deep breaths. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Great job.
Saginaw River helped shape our community. It provided a water source and support for ecosystems and created transportation routes from the Saginaw Bay into the valley. People came together to trade at sites near the river, and eventually cities like Saginaw City and East Saginaw were established by people who had big dreams for Saginaw. People found the marshy land near the river difficult. The land wasn't easy to farm like it was downstate, and the mosquitoes spread illness. But the 20 miles of the Saginaw River did have branches of many other rivers called tributaries flowing into it, and those rivers, 864 miles worth, joined up to the Saginaw River to flow out to the Saginaw Bay, making Saginaw an ideal place for transporting resources to the Great Lakes and beyond. In the 1800s, the main resource Michigan offered the world was lumber in the form of tree logs. After the Civil War, many people flocked to Saginaw because of the growing number of jobs in the lumber industry. By this time, the trees in the eastern United States had been cut down, and lumber companies looked for other forests of white pine trees. And Michigan became the next source of trees to harvest for lumber, for buildings, and more. As sawmills dotted the banks of the river changed too. The bayous, which had proved useful for storing logs before they were cut into planks, soon couldn't hold all the logs that were floated down from the log camps, and Saginaw boom companies cut into the banks to create new man-made bayous. They built docks and wharves, which also changed the banks of the river. The Saginaws continued to grow, and at one point there were more than 100 sawmills along the banks of the Saginaw River. First a plank road, and then railroads connected East Saginaw to cities downstate. East Saginaw became the wealthiest of the two Saginaws because they had the advantage of the river to transport lumber and materials. Mills could be huge operations with their own repair and supply shops, wharves, drying yards, salt works, and even boarding houses for the workers. The peak year for lumber was 1882, when over 1 billion board feet of lumber planks were cut. In the lumber industry, everyone had their own special job. Lumberjacks worked in the lumber camps in the woods, and the fellers and sawyers cut down the trees and prepped them for transport. Loaders and teamsters moved the logs to the riverbanks over frozen winter ground. Camps had blacksmiths to repair tools and cooks to keep everyone fed. In the spring, the logs were floated down the rivers to the sawmills, and the rivermen used their peavies to move the logs in an orderly fashion. To track which logs belonged to which boom company, a log mark was hammered into each saw log's end. At the sawmills, the mill workers cut logs into planks and bundled them to be shipped out for sale all around the United States. Others turned the scrap into shingles for houses and bundled them for sale. During the lumbering era, Saginaw lumber workers cut over 22 billion board feet of lumber. That's enough to build 5 sidewalks 4 feet wide from the Earth to the moon. After all the trees were cut down in Michigan, the lumber companies moved their logging operations westward. That left many people in the Saginaw Valley without work or prospects, but Saginaw was ready to reinvent itself.
Not every state has a gorgeous river flowing across the top of its palm like a lifeline cutting neatly from the middle of our mitten and pouring into Lake Huron.
Let us today praise the Au River for its beauty, for its abundance.
Oh, I believe it must be time to write an ode, a tribute to this wonderful river that flows like a life-giving vein across the lower peninsula of our state. Hi everybody, I'm Jeff Cass, and sometimes we just need to slow down the world and appreciate the beauty and wonder it has to offer. One way to do that through poetry is to write a kind of poem called an ode. An ode is a poem that praises, that pours love onto whatever a writer thinks is worth praising. You can write an ode to the moon, an ode to the bright blue sky, an ode to a favorite television show like Odd Squad, or an ode to a person you really want to appreciate, like a parent, a grandparent, or even a teacher. Or one of your friends. You can even do what the famous poet Pablo Neruda did and write a poem to your socks. When you write an ode, you don't want to hold back. Don't be shy. You want to really exaggerate and express why you love the thing you're writing about. It's also good to talk directly to whatever you're appreciating. For example, if I'm writing an ode to my eyebrows, I could say, "Oh, furry creatures crawling across the top of my face, how you protect my eyes from dirt and dust, how you soak up sweat so it doesn't drip into my eyes so I cannot see. Oh, eyebrows, you are two beautiful roofs protecting my eyes from the storm. Oh, eyebrows." Okay, you get the picture. Today, we want to turn our eyes with their lovely eyebrow canopies to the Au River.
The Au River, located in the lower peninsula of Michigan, is part of the National Wild and Scenic River Systems.
What's so great about it? What's worth pointing out that we can appreciate? If you've been there with friends or family, you can use your own memories of your experiences. Maybe you went fishing there or camping. Maybe you paddled a canoe there for the first time. If so, you can focus on those moments when you're writing. Try to use the 5 senses so the reader can see, hear, smell, taste, or touch what you're writing. If you've never been there, do some research. Look up the Au River online or in a book. Look at the pictures. Maybe even watch a short film or a video clip about it. What you're likely to find is that the river is roughly 138 miles long, and it's known for its cool, clear water and great trout fishing. It's known as one of the best canoeing spots in the entire United States. It holds a famous 120-mile canoe race every year from Gray Lane to Oscoda. It's open to the public, and part of it goes through the Huron-Manistee National Forest, so anyone can hike on the trails that wind next to it, or even swim in it. It features a lot of wildlife, including bald eagles. I'm gonna give it a try. How does this poem sound?
Ode to the Au River. Oh, Au River, how your delicious splash cools my sweat. Oh, Au River,
How I love how my arms feel the good kind of tired when I paddle mile after mile through your slow twists and turns. Look, I shout, an eagle. Its majestic wings soar above as if I have been transported back into an earlier time, before the whoosh and squeak of cars and the beep of trucks backing up, before the loud cymbals of explosions on television, before the tiny computer tucked in my palm, which every day steals hours of my attention.
Oh, Au River, how I delight in the shade of the trees lining your banks.
In the steady rhythm of the paddles splashing in and out, and the trout hooked to my line, pulling and fighting and finally jumping in the air, its scales glistening in the sun. Oh, I cannot eat such a majestic creature. No,
No, Au River,
I must unhook his wide mouth. Let him free to dive back into your cool, delicious depths. Well, there you go. That poem has 19 lines. You can see I've included some images I can see, like the scales of a fish glistening in the sun, an eagle spreading its wings, or a truck backing up. I've also included lots of sounds like the beep of that truck or my shout when I see the eagle. An eagle. I've included some things I can feel, the tiredness of my arms, or the splash of the water, or the shade from a tree. I didn't really use any smells or tastes in this poem, mostly because I decided not to eat the fish. But you feel free to use smells and tastes if they fit into whatever you're writing. Now, it's your turn.
write your own ode to the Au River.
Paint a picture with your words. Try for at least 15 lines. Use the 5 senses. Talk directly to the river. Love the river. Tell us what makes it great. Good luck.
Hello friends, I'm Miss Audra, and today we're going to walk through the jungle together. So I want you to start to think about all the sounds you might hear in a jungle. That could be the sound of a parrot, insects. It could be the sound of a snake wrapping around a tree. It could be something prowling, like a panther. It could even be just the rain, just leaves kind of blowing back and forth. So there's so many different sounds you can imagine, and movement. So first we're gonna take a breath together to just balance and steady ourselves. Here we go. And hold, and I'm gonna blow it out like a little bird today. And breath in. And up, like a bird. So again, thinking about a sound that you want to make when we make our soundscape for walking through a jungle today. And don't forget to make a hand movement, use your arm, or if you have the space, move your whole body. Okay? And on the count of 3, I'm going to listen, and then I'm going to add my own sound and movement. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And here I go up to make a sound. And on the count of 3, we're going to stop together. 1, 2, 3, and think of all the sounds we made together, and we created a soundscape for walking through the jungle today. Let's take one deep cleansing breath together as we say goodbye. Here we go. And blow out any way you want. Today I'm a bird. Nice. See you next time.
The next scene in my film needs to give the idea that there is hope. Hope is hard to show on video, so I need to record a symbol, a special picture, or object to show hope. This is called imagery. Imagery is a picture which is created in the mind while watching a film. It is also something that authors write into their descriptions and readers create in their minds when reading books. It can represent an idea, a character, an event, or even a mood. What should I use? Well, hello, scholars. I'm Media Literacy Maddie. What do you think about using flowers as an image of hope? Maybe these. They are bright and colorful. I think they are hopeful. Do you? Can you think of some imagery that reminds you of silliness? One example of silliness that I can think of is people having a pillow fight. Let's find Miss Kara. She's watching a film about the March on Washington while also learning about imagery in film. Hello, scholars. It's so good to see you. I've been viewing the documentary film Detroit's Walk to Freedom to the March on Washington, 60 Years of Civil Rights Legacy. This film was produced by One Detroit for Detroit PBS. As I've been viewing, I've noticed all of the different imagery the producer of the program chose to include to symbolize or show different moods. Let's take a look at the introductory or opening scene in the film.
The 1963 march led by Dr. Martin Luther King and that I Have a Dream speech in Detroit, commemorated 2 months ago along Woodward Avenue. Hundreds taking part.
I hope that as you step out into the street this morning, you are making a commitment to organize our community.
Although there weren't a lot of words in this scene, there were many different images, both from 1963 and the 1923 march in Detroit. I noticed the producer chose photos and video clips that showed imagery of people who were both united and happy. We saw images of people walking together. We also saw images of people who were smiling. Here's another example of imagery in this film.
Then it was the Walk to Freedom, Detroiters and Dr. King. Historic, some say the beginning of a change that was going to come.
Do you remember Media Literacy Maddie saying she thought her flowers were images of hope? I think the scene we just watched also included hopeful imagery. For example, there were bright colored flowers. It also showed people walking forward as if they were walking towards progress. Now it's your turn to create some imagery for your own film. Do you have a piece of paper and a pencil handy? Write down 5 images to create a sad scene. I'm going to write a rainy day, a crying baby, a child standing alone, someone frowning, and a wilted flower. Imagery is like a secret ingredient in the media maker's recipe to produce a film that gets viewers to think beyond the words the narrator or actors say. Authors also use this secret ingredient when they write books for their readers. Imagery helps viewers think more deeply about the content. Be on the lookout for different images media makers use to create a variety of moods in the shows and movies you watch. Do the images make you feel happy, sad, or maybe even make you feel powerful? The next time you watch or read something, keep an eye out for the special ingredients filmmakers and authors use to make the story come alive.
This program is made possible in part by the state of Michigan and by viewers like you. Thank you.